Good morning, 7th graders in Clinton. I hope you had a great weekend. Today's lesson is for April the 6th, which is a Monday, and we are starting a new chapter. We're in chapter 17 now, and we only have 4 more chapters, and then we are finished with history. So today we are going to be on pages 308 to 310. And we're going to be talking about the prelude to the war. Which war is that? It is World War I. Okay, so let me go back to my papers and then go looking at our chapter. It's going to be chapter 17, 1914 to 1939. War, instability, and depression. Okay, so some of the big ideas that we're going to be talking about are what events led to World War I, what were the key aspects of World War I, why did instability follow the war and result in the rise of dictatorships, what were important developments in science and art during this period, and what caused the Great Depression. That's all that we're going to talk about in this chapter. If you look at your timeline, let's just go through it really quickly. These are some of the things that we're going to be discussing. But in 1911, Chinese Revolution ends the Qing Dynasty. And then in June 28th, 1914, which is a very important date to remember, Archduke Francis Ferdinand and his wife is assassinated, leading to World War I. 1917, Vladimir Lenin becomes the first communist dictator in Russia. And then also in that same year, America's Congress declares war on Germany. Then you have the Paris Peace Conference in 1919, the Washington Naval Conference, 1921 through 22. Mussolini seizes power in Italy in 1922. Joseph Stalin becomes Russia's second dictator in 1924, which he was a horrible, horrible man. He actually killed more people in that war in his lifetime than Hitler did. Chiang Kai-shek becomes the leader of the Kuomintang Party, 1925, and the Locarno Pact in 1925. Stalin launches this first 5-year plan in 1928, and then you have the Kellogg-Brandt Pact in 1928. A few more times. The Lateran Treaties between Italy and Rome in 1929. America's stock market crashes in 1929, and then the Great Depression begins. Hitler becomes Chancellor of Germany in 1933, and Roosevelt is elected U.S. President. Okay, so some of your guiding questions, if you have your book open: what role did European alliances play leading up to the war? How did science and technology contribute to a more lethal war? And what role did the Balkans play in triggering the war? Around the area of the Balkans is a very but a power keg of a place. People want control of it, and that's going to explode. And even today, the Balkans area is in turmoil and tension and things like that. Okay? So, war, instability, and depression. We're going to talk a little bit about the rivalries, the faith in science and technology, and then the causes of war. Okay, so this is going to be the prelude to the war. If you've ever gone to a musical or a play, a lot of times they'll give you a playbill, and in that playbill they'll have a little paragraph or a page that kind of tells you a little bit about what the play is about and to give you an idea. Okay, so basically today's lesson is a prelude. We're going to talk about all these little I can't even say the word right now. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. You know what I mean. All these little problems that are going to explode and cause World War I. One of the things that we talked about in the chapter before, remember, was imperialism. Imperialism is the dominance and power asserted by one nation over less powerful nations. Okay, there is a map, and I still am having problems when I try to show you these. It kind of gets blurry, so I don't know how you can see it, but you should have this. So I'm probably not going to show you maps anymore. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about it, and hopefully you will look on your own. But remember, Britain, France, and Spain never really got along, especially France and Britain. They could not stand one another. Remember, we talked about that Revolutionary War, and they were not besties at all. But you're going to find that they're going to try to work together, because when you look at how close the European countries are next to each other, if Germany took over France, then soon it would take over Spain, because it's just moving right through. And then, so we're going to see how that works on a map. But do you remember the guy by the name of Otto von Bismarck? Okay, there should be a picture of him in your book. Go ahead and take a look. Now, Otto von Bismarck was the guy that was in charge of, he's from Germany, and he was in charge of basically humiliating France throughout his reign as chancellor, okay? He tried to isolate France. He tried to make France look bad to other countries. Well, do you think France is going to really want to be his friend too? And so it's going to cause problems with that. So Otto von Bismarck, one of the things I want you to see, because tension is happening right now, right? If you look at, there's a little comic in there, kind of like a political cartoon, and it says the Dogs of War. All these nations, Britain is watching Russia to see what Russia's going to do. Now, Russia's kind of powerful. They're also watching Germany, they're watching Italy, they're watching France. They're kind of staying out of all the tension right now. France is being, there's tension between France and Germany, Italy, Austria-Hungary, the Ottoman Empire. And so we have here the Dogs of War. So that's a picture of the guy holding the dogs, or whatever is supposed to be Russia. And then he's going and trying to get a weaker country, whether it be, I don't know, another weaker country. And then Britain is going ahead and watching Russia to see what's going to happen. Okay, so let's just go back a little bit and talk about science and technology. During this time, a lot of things have come to pass, whether you have the atom, okay? People knew of the atom, but no one ever sliced inside an atom and saw these little particles. And this is the first time that they sliced into the atom, and then they found, neutrons and protons and electrons, and it's never been that case before, right? And another thing that happened was a guy by the name of Robert Koch. He found the purpose, or why anthrax was around, okay? And anthrax is a really deadly chemical. After 9/11, they were some of the envelopes that were being passed to people were laced in anthrax, whether it would be on the envelope or inside the envelope, and then it was like a powdery stuff, and people would open it and breathe in the powder and die. It was like a respiratory thing, and it was a really scary thing during that time. And another thing during this time is Germans developed or invented a thing called fertilizer. They felt that this fertilizer, like what we use to grow our grass or our plants, fertilizer is used for many, many things, and the Germans thought that they could use it for things too, like that. But they also used it for bad. They felt that they could put it in these ammunition things and cause poisonous gas. So technology, just like we have today, could be used for good, and it could be used for bad. It just depends on how we use it. And as Christians, we need to be very careful about how we do things. Sometimes people invent technology for self-reliance. They want to rely on themselves. They want to get more money for themselves. They don't care about helping others. Whereas we need to be mindful of that. Okay, now we're going back to the causes of the war. One of the causes of the war was militarism. All these nations are now building a strong military, and they want to show their power. Who has the best military? Is it Germany? Is it France? Is it Russia? Is it England? Well, let's go and have a fight and fight it out and figure this out. And that was the one thing. Instead of military, we have a military for defense, for our country to defend us. Not necessarily, military is not necessarily there to start a fight, okay? It's gonna help us if someone starts a fight with us. Then we have imperialism. Remember, imperialism. Germany has wanted to be like Russia and be like England for so long, in France. They were kind of like a smaller country. They were trying to be like everybody else. And so they wanted to show their power and how much stronger they were than the other countries. And then you have rival alliances. Okay, so one of the things that Otto von Bismarck did is he had a treaty with Austria-Hungary, and he also had a treaty with the Ottoman Empire. But then he also had a secret treaty with Russia, and that's called the Reassurance Treaty. Bismarck's secret treaty with Russia. So if something were to happen with those other two countries, he could always have this powerful Russian army. Okay, so we have Germany having a secret alliance with Russia. Then comes a man by the name of Wilhelm II. Not Willem, but Wilhelm II. He's the new Chancellor of Germany, and he dismisses Otto von Bismarck. He doesn't like him because Otto did a lot of things peacefully, as far as how he tried to, rule or whatever. But Wilhelm wanted to be more aggressive. He wanted to fight. He wanted to start a war. He wanted to cause tension. And so he dismissed him. Now, the interesting thing is, okay, remember, this is Germany, and he is going to let the treaty that Otto von Bismarck had with Russia expire. Okay, so there's no more treaty with Russia. Now remember, Britain is watching this whole thing happening right now. Kind of peeking over the corner to see what they need to do. Wilhelm II was the grandson of Queen Victoria in England. Grandson of Queen Victoria. Well, when she died, her son, King George V, and Queen Mary became the rulers of England. So, interesting, right? Germany, Wilhelm II, whose cousins are the rulers of Britain, but they're not going to be on the same side during the war. All right? So here we are. We're getting the tensions. We're getting the teams all set up. Old school playhouse. So this right here, so basically we have the Triple Entente, okay? So we have the loose confederation between Russia, England, and France prior to World War I. So we're talking about the alliances that are going to happen. Remember, France and England never got along before, but since Wilhelm II is no longer allies with France or doesn't have a treaty with France, England is going to get involved, and they're going to kind of have this pact together. France, England, and Russia, okay? It's a loose confederation. Now, there's a map. I always try to show it to you, but I don't think you can see it. It kind of drives me crazy that you can't. But maybe it's in your book. But there's a map where it has a little triangle, and it's the Balkans. Okay, in that area, remember, Russia had a lot of that control, imperialistic control. That, and then the Black Sea. Remember, we talked about that a few chapters back. All right, then this is going to cause tensions, and there's always been tensions. In fact, the Balkans had the Balkan War, 2 wars prior to World War I. So a lot of these countries are trying to claim areas in the Balkans. We already talked about Russia. Germany wants a part of it. So here we have these overlapping claims combined with a growing sense of nationalism in the Balkans made this area the power keg of Europe. A power keg means that it's going to explode. All of a sudden, it's like a big bomb waiting to explode. All right, and so after all was done in that area, 4 nations kind of separated. That you have Montenegro, Serbia, Bulgaria, and Greece. They're all in that Balkan area. All right. Now remember, Serbia is going to be an important part of this spark. Okay, here we go. So, Archduke Ferdinand and his family, there's a picture of them in your book, where he was going to be the heir to the Austria-Hungary rule, okay? And Austria-Hungary had just defeated Bosnia. Archduke Ferdinand was there, and a Serbian teenager came and shot them. Shot both the Archduke and his wife, assassinated, killed them. All right? Do you think this is going to make Austria? Well, when they found out it was from someone from Serbia, think they're going to be very happy about it? No, they're not. And so they are going to send a letter to Serbia and say, you have these things that you have to comply to, or we're going to start war. Well, you have Russia on the side of Serbia, and England is watching. England is going to help, and France is going to be on the side of Serbia because Serbia is a little country. So they get a hold of someone in England and try to get help and say, these are all the things that they want us to do. And England says, no, that's too harsh. You're not going to do that. That's just too much. So Serbia sent the letter back and said, we'll comply to everything except one. And that did not make Austria-Hungary. So 4 days, Austria-Hungary didn't make Austria-Hungary happy. See, I'm hungry right now. Didn't make them happy. And so 4 days later, they declared war on Serbia, which of course, we're going to get France and them to help. So getting the teams together, if you look, okay, so remember the date, June 28th, 1914 was the assassination. You have the Central Powers. If you want to remember that Central Powers is because Germany is right in the center of everything. So basically, you have Germany and then all the other countries around them that are fighting. So basically, Germany is like stuck in the middle. Not smart. So the Central Powers are the alliance of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire during World War I. The Allies are Russia, Serbia, and France during World War I. For right now. There are going to be other countries joining in a little later. The United States is going to join in on the Allied side a little later. There's a big map that shows, and this is in your book probably somewhere, the Central Powers, Allied Powers, and neutral nations. If you want to take a look at that, it shows you like in orange, what are the Central Powers, what are the neutral powers, or neutral nations, what are the Allied nations. And so like Allied would be Great Britain, France, Italy, Serbia, Greece, Romania, the Russian Empire. Then you have the Central Powers with Germany, Luxembourg, Austria-Hungary, Bulgaria, Ottoman Empire. Those are all going to be, and so we're going to set the stage. We're setting the stage for World War I, okay? So that's what's going on right now. It's going to be interesting to see what will happen and how God's sovereignty is going to be part of this. All right, so let's do some review questions. These are your section review questions, but I'll go over them with you. What nation did Germany strive to replace as the industrial power of Europe? That's Britain. How did advances in science and technology change the way people thought about the world? People thought science and technology could unlock the secrets of the universe and solve all of man's problems. What country became the largest producer of chemicals during this period? That's Germany. And then what country took advantage of Germany's failure to renew Russia, the Reassurance Treaty of Russia? Was France. And then France. And then the last question, review question or answer is, many European nations developed large militaries for national glory and as a symbol of national power. Some nations were dominated by their military, and civilians in some European nations also glorified war. So that was the review question of why were the Balkans known as the power keg of Europe? The Balkan region had a history of conflict. Several European countries had overlapping claims in this region, and the Balkan states had a growing sense of nationalism. Any spark of the war in the Balkans could quickly ignite a major war throughout Europe. So, I hope you understand everything. Go back and read your pages 308 to 310. It gives you a little bit more in-depth of it. It's going to be an exciting time to learn what's going to happen. I love you guys. I hope you're making good choices.